It is Saturday morning, bright, shiny sunshine. It is so pretty. I don't know how cold it is. I haven't checked that yet, but if I see sunshine, that's good enough for me because I've got to go out later in the day and run a little errand, and I don't mind doing that when I know that I've got a pretty day to do it in. So I've also decided sometimes I'm looking for a certain video that I have done, but I can't remember when I did it. And the only thing my contents show is 1 year ago, 9 months ago, 6 months ago. I think in order to find the exact video I'm looking for, I need the exact date. Now, I'm not sure. I think today is April the 12th. That's close enough for this video. So if I have to go back, if I want to watch this video again sometime, I can remember when I made the video. Does that make sense to you? Well, if it doesn't, just pass on by and go to the next thing I'm going to say. Now, let's see. What was it? I had my breakfast. I always have a Jimmy Dean. I get the croissant sausage for breakfast. And you know, they're pretty good. It's a good size one. It's about the size of what you call a small hamburger. And I just pop it in the oven, get my juice, pour it in a glass, little ice in the glass, and by the time I piddle around here and there, my sausage croissant is finished, and I'm ready to sit down in front of my iPad and see how many messages I've got this morning. 3? Something's wrong. Gotta have more messages than that, because I really expect a lot of messages from you people. I count on it. I'm always hoping that the last story I told is better than the one before that. Well, that's just wishful thinking is all I can say, because sometimes I wonder why I even bother to put the story on. And lo and behold, there'll be those viewers who say, this is your best story yet. And I think, something's wrong with their viewing. Are they watching the right story? Are they watching the right person? Yeah, oh, that makes me feel good when I do that. But this morning I was looking for a specific story because I don't know if I've already told that story, and I don't want to tell it again. So I start looking, and I looked, and I looked, and I looked. And I popped up on one that said, now where's my piece of paper here? I have to write it down because I can't remember thing from the time it went in this ear and out that ear. I came across a story was number 217. 217 actually was about a year and a half ago. That's half of the stories that I have put on YouTube so far. So far I've got 431 stories. This may be number 432. So half of that is almost to number 217. Yeah, year and a half ago. And the title was Stories for You to Hear. Well, I sat here and I watched it. I didn't have a clue what the story was going to be about. I watched, and I watched, Pretty good story. Yeah. I watched the whole thing. Folks, I enjoyed it. I enjoyed the story I was telling. Most people don't get that much pleasure out of their own work. I definitely don't, because I'm too critical. I shouldn't have said this, shouldn't have said that, shouldn't have told them this. No, that wasn't the right thing to say. Why am I telling this story? That's the way my mind runs. And then I get to the end, and before I put it on to record, I ask myself, do I really want to record what I just said? So I don't watch it first, because if I do, I won't record it. I go ahead and record it. Hey, too late now. It's on its way. And then I start getting the responses. And then when someone says, this is your best story yet, whoa, I'm surprised. And I'm not trying to brag. No, I'm not a bragger. I'm more critical than favorable. But I'm getting to where I can go back a year ago, 2 years ago. I don't remember what I wrote. The title doesn't tell me much, so I watch it. That wasn't a bad story. I kind of enjoyed that. So, folks, that's how it's getting to be. I mean, I'll soon be 89 years old. I'm going to remind you of that every day of the week so that you don't forget. And I remind my daughter, too, so she doesn't forget. She doesn't forget, that's for sure. So, let's see where I was going with this story. I had an idea when I started, and I'm trying to remember what that idea was. Got it. The mind's still going. The first thing I turned to when I sat down with my croissant was I went to Facebook. And someone had written a little story about Pass It Forward. Very interesting story. Some people question these stories as being fake. Well, I don't care whether it's fake or not if it's a good story. If it has no effect on anything except something enjoyable to read, what harm is it, whether it is or isn't fake? Someone did question it, but I didn't. I thought it was a good story, because you know what it means when someone says pass it forward. This person had written a story about a young man whose battery had died in his car. Now, if you want to know about dead batteries, this old girl right here has had plenty of experience. 3 batteries in 1 year. Yeah, I can tell you about dead batteries and how much they cost and having to call AAA and all the problems. Well, anyway, this was one of those stories. The young man had his baby with him, and he needed a new battery, and he went in and got battery chargers. and came out, and a man had pulled up in his white pickup truck, and he asked the man if he would charge his battery for him. And the man says, "You need a new battery." Well, I can't afford a new battery. I know how much I've already priced it. The man goes into the shop, and he comes out, gets it in his pickup truck, and drives away. The young man goes into the shop to see what he can do about his battery, and the clerk said, "I'm putting in your new battery for you." I didn't buy a new battery. Well, the man that was here before you bought the battery, and he said to tell you, he left a note, I think, that said, "When you're older, pass it forward." So all of you know that expression. You've heard it a lot in the last few years. And it reminds me of just that very thing. This was what I was looking for when I started going through my stories. I was looking for another story about pass it forward, and it was about me. But I couldn't find a heading that fit. That's when I started watching my own story. And it is a good story, number 217. Don't forget that. So, the story, in case you remember it, and if you don't remember it, I had gone to visit my sister for the weekend, and while I was there, I have a very good friend. I call her, and we usually go out to eat and get together for a couple of hours while I'm there. And I called her and I said, "Come on, pick us up. Let's go out to eat." So we did. We found a nice restaurant on the south end of town, and I don't know who ordered what. I think maybe I ordered pizza. One of them ordered lasagna, and whatever. It didn't matter. We were having a good time talking, and my friend is one of those, she's very generous. She's outgoing. She's fun, and we've been good friends for about 45 years now. So I knew she was the type that going to pick up the check. Now I'm not going to let her pick up the check. So we're finishing our meal, and I motioned to the waiter to come over, and I said, "Bring me the ticket for all three of us." And he did. No, that's not what he did. I'm getting ahead of myself. He looked at me and he said, "Your bill has been paid." Well, she hadn't had a chance to do that. My sister didn't do it. "What do you mean our bill has been paid?" He said, "The couple in the booth across from you paid for your dinner tonight." Well, that just floored me. I knew there was a couple in that booth, but I wasn't paying any attention to them. I didn't give them enough notice to be able to point them out if I saw them again. "Why did they do that?" He said, "They paid your bill." I looked around. I said, "Are they still here?" "No, they just left a few minutes ago." Folks, that's what you call pass it forward. There was an example. This couple didn't know us from Adam. They just saw three little white-haired ladies sitting over there in another booth. And I guess out of the goodness of their hearts, they decided they were going to pay for our dinner that night. Now, those are things you don't forget. Those are the kindnesses that should go around and around. I tried it once for a little lady, elderly lady. I knew she didn't have money at the Kroger store. It was one item she wanted to buy. She wanted a small size, and all they had was the large. And I knew she's buying the small size because she can't afford the large. So I said to the clerk, I brought the bigger item up, and I said, give this to her and put it on my bill. But the lady wouldn't take it. She had her reason for not taking the big item. I felt a little bad about that, but it was her choice. I tried, and it would not have been a pass it forward situation because she was not in a position of being able to do that. But I wanted to do it. So you find that pretty often nowadays where people do something. You've heard them, the elderly lady who is paying for her groceries and she discovers she's $4.30 short of enough money to pay. And a customer standing behind her looks at the clerk and says, put it on my bill. I love when people do things like that. It's a kindness that it's self-rewarding is what it is. It makes you feel good. You aren't thinking of the money cost. You're thinking of the person that needs the good deed. And you want them to leave the store feeling good, just as you will leave the store feeling good. So, having read this story on Facebook, it was a good story. And I would not have been reminded of the couple that paid for my dinner that night if I hadn't read this story. So these things do happen. These things are real. And we all have the chance and maybe the experience of passing it forward. So just keep that in mind when you're out somewhere and you spot a situation where you can do some good. It will make you feel so much better than it will the recipient. You feel like you've done your good deed for the day. Now, sure, there was something else I wanted to add to my little story. I went out yesterday, Jan working at the antique shop, Feather Your Nest. She worked there on Fridays in case you want to visit her there. And I took her some strawberry salad for her lunch. I didn't have anything else left over that I thought she would want. So I took her the strawberry salad, and she says, that's all I've been eating the last 3 days is strawberries. I said, well, you can eat them again. So anyway, while I was there, I said, Jen, there's a piece of furniture back here in the back. I want you to look at it. She says, I've already seen it. I know what you're talking about. I said, it's old. It comes from the Hoosier kitchen cabinet days, which would have been the 1940s. They're about 30s to 50s. And there's three cabinets that match. It's the prettiest thing I've ever seen. It's old, it's worn, still has the original paint, still has the original decals on the drawers and the doors. I said, if I buy it, will you take it home and put it in your back room? She has a back room where she keeps a lot of her things that she's going to sell in the shop. And she has a big pantry. And she has my Hoosier kitchen cabinet in that room, which will go with what I'm looking at. She said, no, she can't buy it. I said, I want it so bad. And she says, yes, I've seen it, and I thought the same thing when I saw it. I said, we just can't let somebody else buy that. I want it so bad. So we started figuring, would it fit in my kitchen? Now, folks, I'm not showing you pictures of it yet, because I'm not sure it's even going to fit. I've measured and measured. We measured the cabinet. I measured my space in the kitchen. I've got to get rid of this. I've got to get rid of that. I've got about 4 or 5 big plastic tubs that I've got to fill up with kitchen stuff to get it out of the kitchen so I can move out containers. And I've got another white cabinet in the kitchen. I've got to take it out. Well, I don't need to go through this whole spiel for you to tell you what all I have to do in order to get these 3 pieces of cabinets into my kitchen. I've already started removing items, and I said, Jan, I've got 2 shelves. It's a little tabletop that attaches to the wall. Former owner had that put in. It was a little countertop where you could eat, use it as a table to eat, or just for your all your kitchen items. And under that, I have 2 long shelves. And I said, Jan, you won't believe what's on those shelves. I said, I've got the mixers, I've got attachments, I've got electric knives. I started naming off some of the things I have bought at Home Goods. The choppers, a chopper with this and a chopper with that, and this has 3 parts and this one has 2 parts. And I was already using a whisk that Billy Jean sent me because I had watched him use his, and I said, I want one of those. He sent me one, and I used it just the other day, and I thought, and I've had viewers say they want one of those too. Well, while I am pulling all of these little choppers and onion choppers, and I can't think of the names of all these things, but you know, you've probably got some of these same items in your kitchen. And I thought, these things have been sitting on these shelves for years, and I haven't even used them. And then I pulled out this long box, and I thought, well, what is this? Oh, this is the box that goes to my whisk that Billie Jean sent me. Well, I might as well use the box. I really hate to throw it away, Because you know how some people keep things for years and years and they keep them in the original box. And sometimes that makes the value double in price if you've got the original box. Okay, I've got the whisk box, but kind of heavy. So I open up the end of it. There's something in there. I pull it out. I already had a whisk. Didn't even remember that I had it. Had never used it. Now I've got two of them. I'm going to give one of them to Jan because I know she doesn't have one. And she's getting to where she's cooking more. And as long as Charlie keeps hunting turkeys and deer and alligators and all that stuff, she's going to need a lot of these pieces of equipment. I call them equipment. These gadgets. Yeah, kitchen gadgets. She says, Mom, don't get rid of those. I'll take some of them home with me because now that I'm cooking, I can probably use them. So that idea is going to come in handy. I'm going to be able to part with my gadgets because I don't even use them. So I'm just dying to show you the picture of the cabinet, but I don't want to do that until I'm sure it's going to fit in the spaces I've allotted for them, but I've got to get rid of other things. So if you can think of anything kitchen-y that you might need, and you can drop by and pick it up, because I'm not going to ship it to you, because it costs more to ship it than the thing cost. So that's my story today. I'm just getting you ready for the work I have to do in my kitchen. Oh my gosh. I didn't know how much I had in those cabinets. Don't tell me I'm the only one that does that. I'm ready to give away quite a few things. It's almost shameful. The things you go out and buy, you put them in the cabinet, you forget about them being there, and 2 years later you look and you say, what is this? Oh my goodness, I forgot about having that. I've got a donut maker. It's cute, but I've never used it. It's got the recipes on the box, how to make donuts. Well, I can't even make a layered cake. I can't imagine what I'm going to do with a donut maker. I gave up making cookies years ago because while I was baking the second batch of cookies, I was eating the first batch. You know what that means, don't you? You gotta cut that out. So I quit making cookies. I usually make things now that don't have to be cooked. You know, Cool Whip, you don't have to cook. Instant pudding, just add the milk and stir it up. Your strawberries, you just cut them up, sugar them, and fix them with whatever. You've got all kinds of gelatin salads and things like that that you can make, and you don't have to cook them. That's the kind of cooking I do. I'm going on 30 minutes now. I'm trying to think if there was something I really wanted you to know. Except, could you loan me a few plastic tubs to store my stuff in until I can get Jan to take some of it? Some of it can go into her booth in the antique shop. And I've got a friend that has a booth at Peddler's Mall Folks, these are things I haven't used in years. Somebody else needs to have the advantage of a cheap item. Take it to Peddler's Mall and you can sell it cheap. So, I think that's going to do it for today. Oh, I know what I was talking about in that video that says stories for you to hear. For you people who keep asking about where I get my glasses, I did a little segment in that episode number 217, and I showed you some of my glasses. I showed you the rhinestones and how they were put on, all that sort of thing. And I also showed you my sweatshirt that is being sold on Etsy. Several things being sold on Etsy, but I was wearing my pink sweatshirt that has a design on it created by Jessica that says Chit Chat with Granny Pat, and it shows me, well, not really me, it's a caricature of me in hot pink glasses with rhinestones. You'll want to go back and watch that one. I'm sure you will, because it's got several parts to it, and it held my attention all the way through it. I think it will hold your attention too. So I'm going to get off now, because I've got to empty a few more things into a plastic tub, and then I've got to run over to the antique shop and pay for my kitchen cabinet that I've just bought, that I'm going to buy. I haven't bought them yet, but they've already taken the price tags off of them, so I'm going to pay for them today, and then I'm going to get Jan and my friend Daniel, such a great friend to have, partly because he owns a van, and the other is because he's so willing to help me. I'm sure Daniel is watching this, so I've got to be careful what I say. But he will be here to help me. I've already requested his assistance, and he never says no to me. Everybody needs a friend like that. So, you get out and enjoy the sunshine, and if you're living in Canada and it's still snowing, we'll be thinking of you, because we're already getting the pretty flowers, and the pear trees are all free of their blossoms, and the red buds have just been glorious. They are so bright and colorful this year. We don't have any of the red buds in front of our building. I wish we did have. They're really very pretty trees. So if you get the chance, and you know, the red buds will spread and start new trees if you've got a place to put them, and if you're in the right zone where they will grow. And before you know it, you'll have 2 red buds, and then a year or so later, you see the growth of another red bud. The house that Jan moved out of recently and sold had, I forgot how many, I think it had 12 or 14, a whole row of redbud trees, and it's a sight to behold. So that's it for today. I'll keep you informed on my kitchen renovation and let you know if I'm smiling. You'll know it's going well. if I'm biting my lip and trying to keep from saying bad words, you'll know it didn't work. So keep your fingers crossed that this old girl is going to have new cabinet to show her jadeite pieces. I want to show off my green jadeite collection so that you can appreciate it when I'm working in the kitchen. And I'm so anxious for this to work so that I can spend more time in my kitchen and enjoy it. So take care today. Be good and get out there and enjoy life. Thank you all. Oh, I knew there was something else. Yes, let's take a look at this. Now I'm looking at it, and the words are backwards. You know, I asked you, how do you get it fixed so that the words you can read? Well, Bryce Tyler was the one that gave me the answer that I could understand. Several of you tried to explain to me. And then I read his and I said, well, I can understand that. It's not that your explanations weren't good. It's just that I can't figure it out. But I was able to figure his explanation. It was easy. And when you are watching this, tell me if you're able to read the name on this. Tell me what those backwards words are saying. Got the answer to that. That's another problem solved. So I'll talk to you later. You have a good day. Bye-bye.